Kyle Larson arrived at one of the biggest races of the season looking like a championship contender, only to see everything disappear before the race had even settled down. That's exactly what happened at the Brickyard 400. One small problem turned into one massive crash, ending his race almost immediately and leaving one of NASCAR's biggest stars walking away with another devastating result. But what Larson admitted after climbing from his damaged car may have said even more than the crash itself. So stay with us until the very end, because we'll break down exactly what caused the accident, what Larson said afterwards, what it means for his championship hopes, and who ultimately conquered Indianapolis. Before we jump in, if you enjoy NASCAR news, race analysis, and the latest updates every week, make sure to subscribe to NASCAR Nation News and turn on notifications so you never miss another story. Kyle Larson arrived at Indianapolis knowing this wasn't just another race. The Brickyard 400 is one of NASCAR's crown jewel events, and after a difficult stretch of races, it offered the perfect opportunity to rebuild momentum. Instead, it became another afternoon to forget. Only a short time after the green flag, Larson was running inside the pack when everything changed in an instant. Without much warning, the right rear tire on the number 5 Chevrolet suddenly failed. The tire failure happened without any visible contact from another car, leaving Larson as little more than a passenger once the rear of the Chevrolet stepped out. The car snapped sideways at high speed. Larson had almost no chance to save it. His Chevrolet slammed hard into the outside wall before sliding back across the racing surface. The incident unfolded so quickly that several other drivers had nowhere to go. Ryan Blaney became one of the biggest victims of the accident as his car suffered significant damage after getting caught in the spinning number 5 machine. The caution immediately came out while safety crews rushed onto the track. Fortunately, despite the heavy impact, Larson climbed from the car under his own power. The onboard replays showed just how violent the hit really was. One moment the car looked perfectly stable. The next, the tire had let go, and the race was over. After being checked by the infield care center, Larson was cleared and confirmed that he was okay physically. But emotionally, it was another painful afternoon. Speaking after the crash, Larson didn't try to hide his disappointment. He simply said, "Obviously disappointing." Those 2 words summed up everything. A race filled with hope had ended before he ever had the opportunity to fight for the victory. Larson then explained exactly what happened from inside the car. He said, "I don't really know. It felt like the right rear just blew out. I hadn't really gotten tight or anything before that." That comment was important because Larson wasn't describing a car that had been difficult to drive throughout the opening laps. Instead, everything appeared normal until the tire suddenly failed. There was very little warning. The loss of control happened almost instantly. Larson also acknowledged how frustrating the timing was. He explained, "It's unfortunate. We were hoping to have a good day here." Instead of discussing what might have been, Larson accepted the result and shifted his attention toward the races still ahead. He added, "We'll move on." Those words may sound simple, but that's often the mentality championship teams need. There isn't time to dwell on one bad afternoon because another race is always waiting the following weekend. Still, this wasn't an isolated setback. That's what makes this crash much bigger than it first appears. Over his last 4 Cup Series races, Larson has now recorded 3 finishes of 30th or worse. For a former Cup Series champion who entered the season as one of the title favorites, 3 finishes of 30th or worse in the last 4 races is far from ideal. The speed has often been there. But racing isn't only about speed. Mechanical failures, bad luck, and incidents outside a driver's control can quickly erase an entire afternoon's work. That's exactly what happened in Indianapolis. The Hendrick Motorsports team never really had the opportunity to show what kind of race car they had built because the tire failure ended everything before strategy even became a factor. Larson also wasn't interested in pointing fingers. That reaction stood out because after such a disappointing result, many drivers would naturally be frustrated. Larson stayed calm. Now the biggest question becomes what this means going forward. The regular season is reaching its most important stage, and every race matters for playoff momentum. A finish in last place isn't just disappointing on paper. It also puts extra pressure on the upcoming races to rebuild confidence before the championship battle truly begins. Fortunately for Larson, the good news is that he escaped without injury. The crash looked frightening on television, especially considering how quickly the car slammed into the wall. Thankfully, NASCAR's modern safety systems once again did exactly what they were designed to do. Larson walked away safely, allowing his focus to remain entirely on recovering in the standings instead of recovering physically. While Larson's afternoon ended almost as soon as it began, the race itself continued with plenty of drama. Restarts, fuel strategy, and late race pressure kept changing the picture throughout the afternoon as several contenders tried to position themselves for victory at one of NASCAR's most historic tracks. In the end, Corey Heim produced the drive of his career, holding off Christopher Bell and Joey Logano to win the 2026 Brickyard 400. It was a career-defining victory for Heim and a huge moment for his team. Earlier in the race, Ty Gibbs had shown race-winning speed by claiming the Stage 1 victory and leading 46 laps, but changing track conditions and late race strategy saw him slip back to finish 12th. But while those teams celebrated strong finishes, Larson and the number 5 crew were left wondering what might have been. Instead of competing for one of NASCAR's biggest trophies, they packed up early after another race shaped by circumstances largely beyond their control. The encouraging part for Larson is that this wasn't a lack of speed. According to Larson's own explanation, it was simply a tire failure that ended his day before the race ever had a chance to unfold. Unfortunately, in NASCAR, that's sometimes all it takes. One unexpected moment can completely change an entire championship story. Now all eyes turn toward the next race to see whether Larson can finally put this frustrating stretch behind him and rebuild the momentum that made him one of the favorites for this year's title. Do you think Kyle Larson can bounce back before the playoffs, or has this difficult stretch already damaged his championship momentum? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed this breakdown, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to NASCAR Nation News, and we'll see you in the next one.